13th sign, another of the miracles of Muhammad, upon whom be blessings and peace, of which there are numerous instances which are reported unanimously, is the sick and the wounded being healed through his blessed breath. The reports of this kind of miracle are, as a whole, unanimous in meaning. Some of the instances of these miracles also are considered to be unanimous in meaning, and if the others are single reports, since they have been rendered and confirmed as authentic by the exacting authorities of the science of Hadith, they afford the certainty of science. We shall mention a few instances of the miracles out of many. First example, the learned scholar of the Maghrib, Qadi Iyad, in his Al-Shifa al-Sharif, narrates through an elevated chain of authorities and numerous lines of transmission that Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas, the noble messengers, upon whom be peace, servant and commander-in-chief of the army of Islam, in the time of Umar, the conqueror of Iran, and one of the 10 promised paradise, said, I was at the noble messengers, upon whom be peace, side during the battle of Uhud. He shot arrows at the unbelievers until his bow broke. Then he gave arrows to me, telling me to shoot them. The arrows he gave me were without flights, that is, without the feathers which help them fly. He was ordering me to shoot them, which I did, and they flew like flighted arrows, hitting the unbelievers' bodies and piercing them. At that point, Qatada bin Nu'man was hit in the eye by an arrow. It was struck out of his head, so that it was sitting on the side of his face. God's messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, took the eye in his blessed healing hand and placed it in its socket. It was healed as though nothing had happened to it and became the better of his 2 eyes. This event became very widely known. A grandson of Qatada even once described himself to Umar bin Abd al-Aziz as, I am the grandson of one who, when God's most noble messenger, upon whom be peace, placed his eye back in its socket after it had been struck out, it was suddenly healed and became his best eye. He said this in verse, introducing himself to Umar in that way. It is also related through an authentic narration that during the battle known as the Yam di Karad, Abu Qatada was hit in the face by an arrow. God's messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, touched his face with his blessed hand. Abu Qatada said, I felt no pain at all, nor did the wound fester. Second example, the authentic books of Hadith, and foremost Bukhari and Muslim, report that the noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, had appointed Ali al-Haydari as standard-bearer during the Battle of Khaybar, but his eyes were aching severely due to illness. The moment the noble messenger, upon whom be peace, applied his healing spittle to his eyes, they were cured, with no trace of the discomfort remaining. The following morning, Ali conquered the citadel of Khaybar by removing its extremely heavy gate and using it in his hand as a shield. During the same battle, Salama bin al-Aqwa's leg was struck and split open by a sword. God's messenger, upon whom be peace, breathed onto it, and the leg was at once healed. Third example, authorities on the prophets, upon whom be peace life, and foremost Nasa'i, report from Uthman bin Hunayf, who said, A blind man came to God's noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, and said, Pray so that my eyes may be healed and I may see. The messenger, upon whom be peace, said, Go and take the ablutions, then pray 2 rakats and say, O God, I beseech you and I turn to you, for the sake of the Prophet Muhammad, the Prophet of mercy. O Muhammad, I turn to your sustainer for your sake and through you, asking that he uncover my sight. O God, make him my intercessor. He went and did this, and when he returned, we saw that his eyes had opened, and he could see very well. Fourth example, a great authority, Ibn Wahab, reports, the hero Muawidh bin Afra, one of the 14 martyrs of the Battle of Badr, had his hand cut off by Abu Jahl the accursed while fighting with him. He took the hand with his other hand and went to the noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace. The messenger, upon whom be peace, stuck the hand in its place and spread his spittle over it. It was at once healed. Mu'awid went again to fight and continued to do so until he was martyred. Imam Jalil bin Wahab also reports, during that same battle, Hubayb bin Yasaf was struck on the shoulder by a sword, so that he received a grievous wound, with part of it almost severed. The noble messenger, upon whom be peace, joined the arm and shoulder back together again, and breathed on it, and it was healed. Thus, for sure, these two incidents are separate, single reports, but if an authority like Ibn Wahab considered them to be sound, and if they occurred during a battle like that of Badr, which was a spring of miracles, and if there were many other examples that resembled these two incidents, for sure it may be said that they definitely occurred. Indeed, there are perhaps 1,000 examples established in authentic traditions for which the blessed hand of God's messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, was healing. A question. You describe many things as being reported unanimously through many channels, but we are hearing most of them for the first time. Surely something the various reports of which are numerous and unanimous cannot remain thus secret. The answer. There are numerous things concerning the reports of which there is a consensus, and which are self-evident to the learned scholars of the Sharia, but are unknown to those who are not one of them. For the scholars of Hadith, there are many such things, which for poets have not even the status of isolated reports, and so on. The specialists of all the sciences explain the theories and axioms of their science, and the ordinary people rely on them and either submit to them or become one of them and see for themselves. Now, the events, the reports of which we describe as forming true consensus in meaning, or which express certainty like consensus, have been shown to be thus by both the scholars of Hadith and the scholars of the Sharia and the scholars of the principles of religion, and by most of the other levels of the ulama. If ordinary people in their heedlessness, or the ignorant who close their eyes to the truth, do not know this, the fault is theirs. Fifth example. Having explained and authenticated it, Imam Baghawi relates, at the Battle of Khandak, Ali bin al-Hakam's leg was broken by the blow of an unbeliever. The noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, rubbed it. At the moment he did so, it was healed so that Ali bin al-Hakam did not even dismount from his horse. Sixth example. The scholars of Hadith, and foremost Imam Bayhaqi, relate, Ali was very ill. In his distress he was moaning and praying for himself. The noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, came and said, O God, grant him healing, and touched Ali with his foot. He told him to stand, and Ali was at once cured. He stated, I never again suffered from that illness. Seventh example. This is the well-known story of Shurabil al-Jufi. He had a morbid growth on the palm of his hand, so that he could hold neither his sword nor the reins of his horse. God's messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, rubbed the growth with his blessed hand and massaged it. Not a trace of it remained. Eighth example. 6 children, each the object of a different miracle of Muhammad, upon whom be peace. The first, Ibn Abi Shayba, a meticulous researcher and well-known scholar of Hadith, relates that a woman brought her child to God's messenger, upon whom be peace. The child had an affliction. He could not speak and was an idiot. God's messenger, upon whom be peace, rinsed his mouth with water and washed his hands, then gave the water to the woman, telling her to give it to the child to drink. After the child had drunk it, nothing remained of his illness and affliction, and he became so intelligent he surpassed even the brightest of the rest. The second. According to an authentic narration, Ibn Abbas said, "An insane child was brought to the noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace. He placed his blessed hand on the child's chest, and the child suddenly vomited a small black object like a cucumber. The child was healed and went home." The third. Imam Bayhaqi and Nasai relate through an authentic chain of transmission that a child called Muhammad bin al-Hatib had been scalded by a pan of boiling water and his whole arm burnt. God's noble messenger, upon whom be peace, touched the arm, spreading his spittle over it. The same instant it was healed. The fourth. A child who was not young but was mute came to the noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace. He asked the child, "Who am I?" The child, who had been mute from birth, replied, "You are the messenger of God," and started to speak. The fifth. Jalal al-Din. Suyuti, who was honored with conversing with God's messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, on many occasions while awake, and was the leading scholar of his age, explaining and authenticating a narration, reports, soon after being born, a famous person called Mubarak al-Yamama was taken to the noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace. On his turning to the baby, it started to speak, saying, "I testify that you are the messenger of God." The messenger, upon whom be peace, exclaimed, "May God bless you." The child never spoke again in his infancy, and later became famous as Mubarak al-Yamama, the Blessed One Yamama, since he had been the object of this miracle of the Prophet, upon whom be peace, and his prayer. The sixth. One time an ill-mannered youth interrupted the prayer of the noble messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, by passing in front of him while he was performing it. God's messenger, upon whom be peace, said, "O God, cut short his paces." After this, the child was unable to walk as a punishment for his bad behavior. The seventh. A shameless woman who was like a child asked for a piece of the food God's messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, was eating. He gave her some, but she said, "No, I want a piece from your mouth." So he gave her a piece, and after eating the morsel, she became the most modest and bashful woman in Medina. There are not 80, but perhaps 800 further examples similar to the 8 mentioned above, most of which are related in the Hadith books and books of the Prophet, upon whom be peace, biography. For sure, since the blessed hand of God's messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, was like a pharmacy of Luqman the Wise, and his spittle was like a spring of Khidr's water of life, and his breath soothing and healing like that of Jesus, upon whom be peace, certainly many people would have recourse to him, and the sick, children, and the insane did flock to him in great numbers, and they were all healed. Abu Abd al-Rahman al-Yamani, known as Tevus even, who made the Hajj 40 times, and for 40 years performed the morning prayer with the ablution of the preceding night prayers, and who met with many of the companions and was one of the greatest scholars of the generation, following them, stated and made the certain report that however many lunatics came to God's messenger, upon whom be blessings and peace, he placed his hand on their chests, and they were all healed. Not one was not cured. Thus, since a great scholar such as that, who had direct connections with the era of the Prophet, upon whom be peace, made such definite and general statements, for sure none of the sick who came to God's Prophet, upon whom be peace, were not healed. They were all healed. Since this was the case, certainly thousands would have had recourse to him.